to the second annual Optional Boss Awards. I am Toadie once again, being your announcer tonight as I guide you through the Bossie Awards. Because without my guidance, Josh and Tyler are sure to ramble on for hours and we don't have that much time. Same rules as last year, we are awarding games regardless of when they were released, and rather based on us playing them for the first time in 2023, with the exception of a couple obvious categories. So, without further ado, give it up for Josh and Tyler.
Thank you, Toadie, for joining us and being our announcer once again on the second annual Optional Boss Awards, the Bossies. And Tyler, how are you doing?
Wow, second annual. We are finally, it kind of reminds me of, that old episode of Simpsons where they say, why are we celebrating Christmas? It's already November. We're talking 2023 awards here.
Yes, but you know what? Unlike the Kegels, we actually waited for the year to finish before we did these. I think that said something right there.
Yes, we waited deliberately. That is why we are presenting this to you now. But in all fairness, it is nice to give the entire year a chance to shine because, you don't want to cut off the year just at the late October mark. You want to see what everything has to offer.
Absolutely. And I mean, granted, I'm sure some of the games that we mentioned tonight are not going to be released in 2023. That's going to be fine.
I would say very few of them are, actually.
Probably.
Yes.
Anyways, yeah, Tyler, how about we start this off? We'll pass it back off to Toadie, and we will get started
with the
start
Bossies. The awards.
Toadie, back to you.
Thanks, guys. Let's get this ball rolling. Starting with Best Retro Game, the award for the best retro game we experienced in 2023.
The best retro game for me probably this year, and I actually had a hard time thinking about what retro games I actually played for the first time. And I'm going to say Final Fantasy 3.
I would say
which was actually part of our challenge.
That's a pretty surprising pick because it is one of the games issued in last year's challenge. Although I am glad that you enjoyed it enough to say that it was your best retro pick of the lot. Now, would you say that...
Now, these are retro games that we haven't played before, right? So...
Yes, that would be pretty much what we're going for. And yeah, I guess there wasn't much in the ways of retro play last year, was there?
No, just a whole lot of granted some revisited stuff, but last year was a banger for games actually coming out, so...
It was a hard year to look back on. I would say for myself, now, it is a slight caveat, but I would say this was the first time I really, really played this game. Was my best retro pick for last year is going to go to Secret of Mana. And...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where now I have booted this game up initially several times to only get a couple hours in. It's never sat right, but last year I thought this is the year I'm going to actually get through all the way to the end, and I gotta say, my opinion has completely changed to it being up there as one of the best of last year, at the very least. And
it's so funny to hear that, because we've talked off air about Secret of Mana, and just quite honestly, we've kind of trash talked it. Like, we never saw the hype, but we're also coming from a place that saw Seiken Densetsu 3 beforehand.
Yes,
we've seen Secret of Mana done better,
and I have to say, now that I've fully seen it through to the end, it's pretty fantastic game. It has a lot going for it.
Absolutely.
Best remake, remaster, or port. This award is given to the best old title made new, be that slight polish or a complete overhaul.
And my pick for the best remake, remaster, or port that I played in the year 2023 is going to go to the Demon's Souls remake on the PlayStation 5, which...
Oh, that thing was pretty.
I really don't have any other words for the fact that, like, if we're talking just pound for pound best remake, it is one of the best remakes ever remade. It is beautifully polished and just very pretty to look at. And God, I want to see more come out of Blue Point in this style if they're going to revitalize classics. Like, now, I would say... if they do a Bloodborne, I would be very happy. Now, this isn't obviously one of my favorite things that I played, but I have to say, like, again, pound for pound, best remake, this easily wins. But how about yourself? What is your pick for this Bossie Award?
So my Bossie for best remake, and I'm just going to call it straight up remake, not remaster report, is Resident Evil 4 remake.
Ah, that's a pretty heavy hitter.
It was, so honestly, like my original playthrough of the Resident Evil 4 on the port for PS4, I played on my PS5, and I don't know if it's a glitch with most PS5s or not, but there's way too much weapon sway. Like the base game has enough weapon sway and all that, but this is like it's bouncing from the ground to the ceiling. Like, it's very bad. So when I played the Resident Evil 4 remake that they just came out with, oh my god, it really heightened my enjoyment of Resident Evil 4. So it left a lasting impression on me, and it was just so well done.
It's nice to see that game get some recognition that it needs, because it seemed like a big deal to come and go, and, you know, Resident Evil 4 is one of those greatest of all-time games, so it is nice to hear that it was a greatest of at least the year.
10 out of 10 for remake, too many bear traps.
Best Revisited. The award for making us say, screw the backlog, I need to replay this.
You know, the revisited category is always kind of funny because, like, it kind of veers away from the fact that we always want to try and get past our backlog, but we always just have to dive into those things that we love. And for my Bossie Award for Best Revisited is actually going to be Silent Hill 2. Even though it was, like, last year that I played it for the first time, and granted, I'm playing the Enhanced Edition. Just, I'm super hyped to see what this remake's going to be, that I've had to replay it a few times. Like, it's stuck with me. I've mentioned my love for, like, psychological shit, so it was just always a good time.
Now, did Silent Hill 2 not win one of your Bossies from last year?
I think it did. I think it did.
We're gonna have to line that up. Now, funny enough, my pick for best revisit also goes to a sequel game, and that is something near and dear to my heart. My Bossie goes to Mega Man X2 for just being always as good as it always is. And I know I will replay this several times again, and I'm not even going to say it's the best in the franchise, but Mega Man X2 is just so fun to just put it in, finish it in a single sitting, easily a highlight to take my time, some of my time for the year, and polish that off.
There's going to be a day that we sit down and talk about Mega Man, and we will have to split it into like 4 parts.
I won't stop.
Best Mindy. Here at the Optional Boss podcast, we love our Mindies, so let's celebrate bridging the gap between mainstream and indie.
Now, Mindy is a term that we haven't thrown around as often as we typically would on this here podcast of ours, but there was a little bit of time for some Mindies here and there last year, and my personal pick for Best Mindy of the Year goes to the surprisingly controversial, physical-only Demon Throttle.
Oh, I still need to dive into that. That gives me some hope for it. Like, not that I had no hope for it, but it's in the backlog.
It's a surprising thing for me to say. This game that very much came out with a sole gimmick premise of just being what seemed like a shameless cash grab for a physical copy, and I am delighted to say this is a painfully addictive and enjoyable bite-sized experience that now, for top-down shoot-em-ups, they're not exactly a genre you're going to hear talked about frequently, but it just has this interesting bit of RPG elements to make it, memorizing it and playing again and again, so enjoyable. So that would be why it's my pick. How about yourself? What Mindy do you want to highlight for the last year?
So, truth be told, like when we talk Mindies, we always talk about like those 10-hour bite-sized indie games that we have played throughout the year, and I chose one that's a little bit more than just a single bite, maybe a 2-bite, and that's going to be Inscription.
Ooh.
And Inscription caused me to go back and play his other games. It's one solo developer who does get a little bit of outside help too, but like Pony Island, The Hex, I replayed this year just because I played Inscription, and it's just like, oh, I love his style, and I love how messy it can get. So I really enjoyed Inscription. It was weird, it was wacky, and it changed all over the place. So if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend Inscription.
I'm looking to finish it myself one time when I finally get the chance.
You're the card guy. You will love this.
I'm aware.
Best Soundtrack. Can't help but love those games with music that sticks in your head for weeks afterwards.
So really, what is a game without music? I mean, granted, some of my Silent Hill games don't have much music because it brings attention in, but a game without a good soundtrack is kind of hollow, I find. So that's why this year's Bossie from myself goes to Sea of Stars. Because that music is just, it is one of those things that I'll just be sitting, doing my stuff, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, whether it's doing chores, and then that like boss music pops into my head and it's just like, oh, that's so damn good. So it's really stuck with me since I finished it up. What about you?
It's very exciting to hear that Sea of Stars wanting to pay homage to some of that classic retro RPG grandiose music is managing to at least be able to kind of keep that reputation. As for myself, like I can agree, what is a game without its soundtrack? And what if a game was only soundtracks? Now, this might seem like a bit of a cop-out, but I don't care. It's giving me a reason to talk about this game for the year, and my best soundtrack goes to Theatrhythm Final Bar Line. Oh, the whole game is just Final Fantasy soundtracks. How could I not pick this for best soundtrack when it's literally a compilation of all the best soundtracks?
So that is a bit of a cop-out, but I will allow it because it is its own game and it does have its own music as well. So
and the original compositions are pretty incredible.
They are pretty great. So. And Final Fantasy whatever it's called, Theater, it's just a damn good time.
It's one that I needed to find a way to nominate somehow, and I mean, it's a game about music. Why not give it the music award?
That's fair enough, and I'm too dumb to think of that, apparently, because that's a good pick. That is a beautiful pick.
It's exciting every year, folks.
Best Story. This title left us without words after experiencing the story it told.
Now, if there's one thing that sometimes sticks and hits a little harder than the soundtrack of a game, something that keeps you pondering long after you've put down the controller, and that's a good story. And that is why my pick for the Best Story Bossie Award this year goes to Nier Automata, the End of Yorha edition, for just, wow, what the heck even was that? Like, it just kept me super invested the whole time. It felt super fast and breakneck paced but also didn't feel so convoluted that it was confusing. It was action-packed. It was emotional. Wow, I am so glad I took the advice to play this game because it knocked it out of the park for me.
You were very hesitant on actually playing it too, were you not?
I was, and it wasn't until our guest earlier in the year, Krev, talking so much about it, that I finally decided it was worth jumping into it. She was not wrong. That is... Wow, what a game.
It's a really good time. It is a really good time. It took me a while to get into it, but then it's confusing at first, in a sense of it's keeping its mystery about it, and then once you start piecing everything together, it's just holy shit, what is going on? This is incredible.
It's an experience to be had, that's for sure. But how about yourself?
Absolutely.
Was there a story that stood out the most?
You know what? Out of all the story-based games, like some were very cryptic, some were right in your face, some had extra value if you looked into it a bit more. But the story that I want to say actually lasted with me in a sense of like overall enjoyment was Final Fantasy 16. So, and I will say that without spoilers because it's definitely the late game, the actual antagonist of it, and just all the shit that happens in between. It's just a lot of it's I really, really enjoyed, and I enjoyed my time playing as Clive.
Well, that's very...
So yeah, Final Fantasy 16, that's spoiler free as I can be. And yeah, it's very, very good.
It's been a surprisingly Final Fantasy dominant awards for you on this side this year.
There's been two.
That's more than one.
This is true.
Best Pick Up and Play. Quick little games to fill in those nooks and crannies of time.
So pick up and play category. It's a bit of an odd one. This is like we've had a little bit of downtime, or we know something's coming out the week after, so we just kind of like dove into something that we had no real intention, or it may not even have a proper end. And this is going to be new for this year. And my choice is going to be Beat Saber. There is no finish, but you can just enjoy it and play it over and over and over again. You can always try and go to harder difficulties, and you can always try new songs, especially if it's modded. How about yourself?
I would say Beat Saber is a pretty interesting pick. It seems very much suited to that pick up and play style. And because, oddly enough, it's funny, I mentioned a lot of mobile gaming this year, but that's not going to be what my pick is for this genre. No. It's actually going to be a game that came out earlier in the year, I believe, and that is We Love Katamari Reroll, which...
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'd say Katamari is such a wonderful game to play that it has its challenge, but in a very arcadey sense. And arcadey, I feel, is just perfect suited for the pick-up-and-play style. But
oh, absolutely.
Beyond that, it's such a turn your brain off and just enjoy the absurdity of just playing a video game. And...
just run around becoming that black hole.
Yeah, and if you can get on board with the absurdity that it is, I would recommend it to anyone just looking to play a game for 5 to 500 minutes.
Yeah, it is perfect for the pick up and play. You can put in the time, you can not put in the time. Just something to kill a little bit of time. Perfect.
Most anticipated 2024. Seems a waste of a category, as this one has been spoiled so many times.
Now, we've talked a lot about this game already, so it's safe to say that they're highly anticipating it, so much to give it an award, which feels almost unnecessary at this point, but hey, we're all about looking forward here at the Optional Boss podcast.
Oh yeah, this award is definitely a toss away, and we aren't going to spend too much time on it, because I think everybody already knows we've spoiled in the last 5 episodes, I'm sure.
Yeah, I guess this is probably going out for both of us, but I know for myself, the most anticipated goes to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
I am the same, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I am freaking excited. So it's the last Final Fantasy game on my list.
It's also right around the corner from when this will be dropping as well. Like, I think a month away. So
29 days from the day that this episode drops.
Yeah, games getting awards before they're even games. Fancy that.
That's what the anticipated is all about.
Honorable mentions. It's impossible to fit everything we'd like into a category, but we've done our best.
So this is not so much a throwaway category, but just something we wanted to plug something in. The honorable mention is essentially we didn't have a proper category for this. It is right up there with something that we really enjoyed, but it just didn't quite get that Game of the Year feel that we were looking for. So for myself, it's going to be actually Outer Wilds. And this isn't a second place category. This is, I really enjoyed Outer Wilds. To the point, I actually started replaying it today. Just don't know if I'm going to stick with it, just to check it out. So what about yourself there, Tyler?
Well, I would
what
say
is your
my decision,
honorable mention?
Basically, when it comes to my decision for an honorable mention, it's something that I may have considered to be my game of the year, but it just didn't quite have the impact as something else, but still really stuck with me, you know? And for the longest time, I thought this was going to be my game of the year, but if not, I have to highlight it in some way, shape, or form, and that's going to be Lies of P. That is just such an incredible game. Oh my god. And now
it is really good.
The fact that I've already, to start this year off, replayed it to the end and will be doing so again is a statement that I've really, really enjoyed this game. But it just wasn't exactly the thing that I would say is the best thing that I played in the entire year.
That's fair enough. Lies of P is a good time though. It is the best FromSoft game that FromSoft did not make.
That is very correct.
Game of the Year! Josh and Tyler experienced this game this year, regardless of when it was released. This is our Game of the Year!
Now, for the most standout, the most prestigious, the one that takes all the times we took prestigious in the last Bossies and crams them all together and gives it the most prestigious of the prestigious Awards of the year that year, 2023. For me, it's going to go to one that I have already mentioned and probably spoke of the most passionately in this here awards ceremony, and that's going to go to Nier Automata, the End of Yorha edition. I just wow. I haven't replayed it yet, but the game, it really wants me to go back to it at some point, and it really stuck with me. It had incredible gameplay variety, and it was action-packed. It stuck with me. Its story was good. It was funny. It was smooth as butter to play, even on the Switch. So I'm going to say, the one that left the strongest impression with me from what I played this entire year is going to have to be Nier Automata. But how about yourself, Josh? What was the biggest, bestest, prestigious for you?
The most prestigious of prestigious games that I've played. Well, first off, going back to Nier, when you go to replay that, I'm going to replay it. Let me know.
That'll be a
because
good time.
I've been kind of tempted to replay it and just haven't found the right time. So I think that'll be good because then we can talk about it, whether it's on or off the podcast.
That would be a good time.
As for my prestigious Bossie of the Year award, it's Sea Stars.
Oh,
Sea
that's
of Flippin' Stars.
Wonderful pick. Wow.
It is such. It's like Chrono Trigger, but it's separates itself and keeps its own identity. Its music is great. Its story is great. Its characters are great. And I will fully admit, when I first started Sea of Stars, I wasn't feeling the story too much. And then it just started. It was very cheesy and kind of almost the kind of anime type storytelling that I don't like, where it's all like super friendly and whatnot. And then it actually started getting into the dread of the story. And then it just got good. And I just enjoyed my time with it. It was such a marvelous masterpiece. I'm so happy to have played it, and I platinumed it right away on PlayStation 5. So I'm excited for the physical to eventually get here. And I think anyone who enjoyed Chrono Trigger or enjoys turn-based games and pixel art should give it a go.
I know I'm highly anticipating when I do finally get around to finally playing Sea of Stars. It'll be I'm excited to see all of the things it took from the retro games, and maybe one day, I don't know if this is for future DLC or not, see how it finally ties into The Messenger, which was also fantastic.
Oh, you'll see that in the base game.
Oh, that's
and
exciting.
you will fully understand that. And I do suggest to anyone who's going to play Sea of Stars or plans on playing Sea of Stars, they should play The Messenger first.
They should just play The Messenger anyway. It is a fine
they
time. They
absolutely should, but I mean, if you're going to be playing Sea of Stars, you should play The Messenger first.
Yes, that is the takeaway from the year.
Yes, absolutely. Just play Sea of Stars. It's good.
But I guess we're almost ready to wrap things up here. But we have one more award to give away, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Best optional boss. Now, how silly would it be to forget this Bossie on the Optional Boss podcast?
Of course we have to have this award. It's the Optional Boss podcast. We are the Optional Boss hosts. Toadie is our Optional Boss guest. Of course we have to have the best optional boss in a video game. And mine is going to be one that infuriated me. One that almost made me drop a game, actually. And the fact that I beat it and without help really gave me a sense of accomplishment. And that is the Nameless Puppet from Liza P.
Ah, yes. Oh no.
It is an optional boss.
Possible spoilers. But yes, it is
no,
very much an optional boss.
No one knows who the Nameless Puppet is.
Ah, I guess that's true, yes.
Right? Nameless Puppet, if you haven't played, you'll come across it.
All right.
Or not.
Funny enough, mine, I don't know if you would consider it spoiler territory. It's definitely in the optional category, and it is most definitely in the could get someone to drop a controller category, almost by design. Having played Elden Ring for the first time last year, my optional boss of the year is going to have to go to Melania. That is, that's a wicked fight. It is just pure souls through and through, and it does a fine job of just making you not want to do it, but also being so challenging that you just have to go back for more, and truly fitting of a title of a memorable optional boss.
Absolutely. She steals your health. She's such a cheapo, but you kill her, and then it's just victory.
Oops, flower time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Terrifying stuff.
Very good. And that's all we have for the second annual Optional Boss Awards. Tyler, thank you for being my wonderful other host. Thank the audience for being here and surviving another year with us. We appreciate everyone who's given us a follow, a listen, who we're penetrating their ear holes with our rambliness.
Yes. Josh, it's always a pleasure to come on and talk about video games, what's best for the year and all that. And all of these people who have listened to us, I hope you've enjoyed. We've enjoyed having you enjoy it, if you do. And we can now move on to another year of rambling and exciting things to possibly give arbitrary awards to.
Yes, absolutely. And a new year for the podcast. Again, we will be pushing for some new advancements within the podcast itself, and we hope that you enjoy. Anyways, let's push it back to Toadie. Toadie.
That wraps up the second annual Bossie Awards for 2023. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Josh and Tyler are off to prepare for the future of the podcast with new games and new experiences. However, you can always find them on Instagram or Twitter at OptionalBossPC. I've been Toadie, and if you want to keep up with me and everything going on at the pond, you can catch me on Twitch or YouTube as ToadieZzz. Thanks for coming out and enjoy the rest of your night.